All right. What's going on, everybody? Jacob, Miami Dolphins Syndicate, alone again. Day after Halloween. Donovan is currently doing some work stuff, some big boy stuff, and has left the stream yet again to me. Second time in 3 weeks. It's okay. It's okay. Now he's got more important stuff, so it is understandable. I'm here for you guys. The stream looks a little choppy on my end. I know there's nobody in here yet, but if y'all tune in and the stream's a little choppy, or if you're watching this back, I do apologize. Hope everybody had a good day. Hope everybody had a good Halloween. I know personally I did. I wish I got a picture ready. So yesterday, I work at Publix down here in South Florida, and we were allowed to dress up for Halloween. And normally, I've been a little older. Only time I really have dressed up in recent years would be with like my girlfriend at the time, or like in years past when I worked at Publix. So last couple of years I haven't worked on Halloween, so I haven't got to dress up. So on Friday night, I'm on the internet. I'm looking up just male Halloween costumes, and I found a few that I liked, but because it was Friday, Halloween, yesterday, Tuesday, they wouldn't have gotten in time. So I was pretty disappointed until I came across something that I was initially a little worried about because I wasn't sure if it was going to fit or not, and it fit enough. It was supposed to be for someone who's 6'4". I'm 6'6". I ended up wearing a Perry the Platypus costume, Perry the Platypus onesie that was freaking hot. It was so hot to wear that yesterday. It was pretty miserable. Donovan, what's up? You're in the stream. How you doing, sir? It was pretty miserable. It was pretty miserable wearing that freaking thing all day long. Stephanie felt the exact same way, except I was wearing mine from 9:30 in the morning until I eventually showered later that day. That wasn't fun. But it was comfy, it was cozy, and it was an easy day. I worked in a liquor store, worked there pretty much all day long, and the amount of, especially men, that, you walk into a liquor store, you expect to see just, your typical workers, your typical employees, and, you walk in and you see a 6'6" Perry the Platypus is not your expectation. So, open the door. Hi, how you doing? Oh, hi. Nice. Or they would say nice. Some would, like, I had a few people say I had a lot of balls, and like, appreciate it, because y'all saw the picture. I looked absolutely ridiculous, and I'm okay with that. Look, hey, be free. All right, don't be afraid of judgment. Don't be afraid of doing. Be a little silly. Be able to unwind. Be able to just be yourself. And I very much was doing that, and was very much ridiculous. That thing was it was pretty rough wearing that all day long, but it was fun. It was worth it. Man, for those of y'all that either go trick or treating still or have kids that go trick or treating, some of y'all watch it maybe. I hope y'all had fun. It's been quite a long time since I've done anything like that. Like as a kid, man, probably in his under. I am Donovan. I am fully clothed. I promise that. I have the fan on slightly behind me. I'm fully clothed. Don't get it twisted. But like I remember like the last time I went. I don't even remember the last time I went trick or treating actually. I don't know if I ever went in high school. I know at the very least 7th grade may have been the last year that I went trick or treating, and I think I literally just wore a white T-shirt and walked around the neighborhood. Is literally the extent that I did. Let me know, Donovan. Tell me yours right now, and I see somebody else in here. Let me know, what is your favorite Halloween candy? Me personally, it's changed over the years. I do have a definite answer that I'll get to in a moment. But for years and years and years, it was anything Reese's related. I'm talking Reese's Cups. I'm talking Reese's Eggs. I'm talking Reese's Sticks. I'm talking about Reese's Pieces. I'm talking anything that is orange packaging, says Reese's on it. I love it. Any of it. And then I got COVID at the beginning of 2021. The real COVID, not the fake COVID that we saw. Had the pretty intensely, and I lost my taste. I lost my sense of smell. And then as my taste and smell came back, some things didn't taste the same, some things didn't smell the same. And, I was thinking, okay, it's eventually going to come back. It's eventually going to even itself out, and things will be fine. It's November 1st, 2023. I tested positive January 6th or 7th, 2021. I know the exact date because it was the first day of the playoffs that year. I got to watch the Ravens and Titans game from a hotel room because my family thought it was a great idea. Me having COVID, let's just shove him away to a hotel room. Forget the fact that I've been around in the last couple of days. Put me in a hotel room with a bunch of other people that could potentially get sick, not even knowing that I'm sick. But I say all that to say that ever since I've gotten my taste and smell back, peanut butter has tasted like ash, like that, like bad cigarette smell. It tastes like it tastes wrong. It tastes disturbing. What's up, Zane? I've seen you comment on it a few times. Appreciate you stopping by. We're talking right now about Halloween. Zane, tell me what your favorite Halloween candy is. Like I was saying, mine was Reese's for the longest time, and then just out of nowhere, peanut butter. Or not out of nowhere. After I got COVID, peanut butter is just never tasted the same. Still to this day, does not taste the same. And now I have like a very, very minor peanut allergy, so it's not worth it anyways. Like, I do not like cigs. Don't get that twisted, okay? Try them one time. Okay, I kind of liked it. Anyways, Reese's, not worth it for me. I did very much enjoy it. But today, and as far as I can imagine for the rest of my life, my favorite Halloween candy, my favorite candy in general, is cookies and cream Hershey's. Cookies and cream Hershey's are the bottom line best candy. You will not be able to convince me otherwise. Then go Twix, Kit Kat, Purple Skittles, and there's quite a few other ones I like, but those are the main ones. Mighty Zane, what are your thoughts on the Dolphins not trading for any football players? Okay, so I'm glad that you actually brought that up, Zane, because that was one of the topics that I was going to get into, was talking about how the Dolphins did not go after anybody in the trade deadline. They did not trade away players. They did not get any new players. I was going to talk about that probably second or third, but we'll go ahead and talk about that now. So Donovan made a video for you guys on Tuesday talking about whether the Dolphins should make any moves at the trade deadline. Talk about players that we could acquire. Justin Simmons, that you guys saw on the thumbnail, a few other players, and you saw guys that we potentially move off from. We saw like Jeff Wilson, and there was definitely some movements that could be made theoretically on paper. This Dolphins team is certainly not a perfect team. There are holes around this team. I'm looking at offensive line. I'm looking at tight end. I'm talking about your second safety. Brandon Jones has been beat up and still hasn't quite come back to what he can be. Deshaun Elliott is very okay, but when you're on a team that has Super Bowl aspirations, okay is not okay. Good enough is not good enough. So both sides of the ball, multiple positions where you're like, okay, we can attack this. We can go spend, a middle round to late pick, go get a guy with an expiring contract on a team that isn't going anywhere, and try to go forward from there. And obviously, we saw the Dolphins didn't end up getting any players. They didn't end up moving any players. They just stayed completely still, as opposed to last year where we made that big trade to go get Bradley Chubb from the Broncos. There was multiple Broncos players that were on the market that potentially could have been moved. Were any of them moved, actually? I don't think a single Bronco ended up. Cortland Sutton stayed there. Jerry Jeudy, Justin Simmons, a few different guys that were the biggest one. Crap, what's his name? Corner on the Broncos. The kid. Patrick Surtain. Patrick Surtain was probably the one that was the guy that was most likely or most coveted amongst Dolphins players, and probably, well, not Dolphins players, but Dolphins fans. Donovan came out and said that, and I think we both talked about it, how we definitely see a move like Xavier Howard plus a pick for him, even though that feels like more of a Madden trade than a real life trade. Xavier Howard, really expensive contract, isn't getting any younger. Donovan, I remembered his name. Shut up. Well, I didn't remember his name. Google helped me out. That was a deal that could have potentially gotten done. It was more likely to have been just straight picks, or maybe a younger player. Maybe would have seen like Kader Kahu, Nick Needham, a younger player on a cheap contract that can develop into a good player. But again, we didn't see any of that unfold. Just black and white for what it is. Yeah, it is a little disappointing to not see the Dolphins make the move, but then you kind of look at the logistics of it and you look at just how good this team is. It probably was never going to happen. The Dolphins do not have a lot of cap space available. You expect. I just looked up Dolphins space and there's a bunch of pictures of Dolphins in space. Dolphins cap space. I know it's not a lot right now. We're at $3.7 million, and they say salary cap's a myth, but it does matter. It is a real thing. You can't just go out and get guys and fingers crossed that you make it work. In theory, it's nice, but when it's not our money, you can't just say, oh, just fully guarantee everybody's contract for the rest of the season and open up infinite cap space. As much as that's nice to think about, that doesn't happen. So we went into the trade deadline knowing there's not a lot of money to be spent. There was some decent players out there. I never expected offensive linemen to be moved at the trade deadline, and I guess it was the perfect circumstance for that to happen. Minnesota Vikings, Kirk Cousins goes down, bring in Josh Dobbs, quarterback you don't really care for. You know he's not going to win you the Super Bowl. Maybe he can get you that 7th seed in the NFC. But the Jaguars come in and give you an offer for Ezra Cleveland. Cleveland, pretty solid offensive lineman, but for the Vikings standards, he's a pretty good offensive lineman. He's not I'm pretty sure he's a guard. He's not a top guard in the league. But the Jaguars were willing to give up adequate compensation, and we saw an offensive lineman move. That does not ever happen on trade deadline because most bad teams. We're looking at the Carolina Panthers. We're looking at the Arizona Cardinals, teams that are not the Chicago Bears. All three of those teams, the first two young quarterbacks they're trying to develop, or two of those two teams with quarterbacks they're trying to develop in the Chicago Bears and the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers are not giving up anybody that is going to make it harder for Bryce Young to sit back in the pocket. And same thing with the Bears when Justin Fields eventually comes back. Even if they don't necessarily believe in Justin Fields and they're kind of deciding whether he is the guy going forward, they're going to give him all the opportunities to succeed, and getting rid of an offensive lineman is not the way of doing that. And you look over with the Arizona Cardinals, who don't have a good offensive line regardless, and then you're getting Kyler Murray back. You want to see with this new coaching staff, how is he going to look? How is he going to play? And the way to get the best out of him, the way to figure out whether there's something there or just focus on Caleb Williams, you want him standing upright. So you're not going to get an offensive lineman in the trade deadline. So that was a surprise for it to happen in the first place. And then you look, there wasn't a lot of big moves to be made. It was a lot like now the Washington Commanders were the biggest sellers, obviously two of their edges, but they have they have an incredible defensive line in general. Got a second and a third for Sweat and Chase Young. But there just wasn't a lot out there, as well as the Dolphins don't have a lot of money to spend. There's not truly a lot of holes on this team. There's places that you'd like to be better than they are, but they're either not really able to be fixed, offensive line, or they're not worth giving up the money, giving up the assets. We're looking at tight end. We're looking at safety. Those are positions that we can make it work with the guys that we have. We are 6-2 with the guys that we have. So don't really need to go and spend the picks. Don't really need to go out and spend the money. Keep the cap space where it's at. Maybe pick somebody off of waivers. There's some veterans we've seen like Leonard Fournette. We've seen Julio Jones get signed. There's still guys that are out there that are not first option. But as the season rolls out, you see some of those like 35, 36, 37-year-olds like we saw the Ndamukong Suh the last few years just grab onto a team towards the end because their bodies can't quite hold up for a full 17-game schedule. But they can hold for about 10, 11 games as they push forward for the playoffs. It's disappointing not to get a player, but I definitely understand why the Dolphins didn't go out and make any moves during the trade deadline. Let me catch up on some of the comments here. Favorite dessert is turtle pie. I can't say I've had it. Allergic to pecans. I've heard pecan pie is pretty good. I'm pretty sure turtle pie has pecans. I'm not just making that up. So I've heard it's good, but desserts. I'm sticking with my classics. My apple pies, pumpkin pies relative to the holidays. Thanksgiving, Christmas is around the corner. I want myself a nice piece of pumpkin pie, apple pie, some vanilla ice cream, some caramel on top. Desserts in general, bundt cake. Oh, bundt cakes are elite. Pizookies from BJ's. That skillet cookie with ice cream on top. Amazing. Chubb was 1 year ago today. How are we feeling about that trade as of now? It's been a mixed bag for Bradley Chubb, and I want to give him the benefit of the doubt and just exist as if his play last year didn't happen. You're looking at the defensive coaching staff last year is virtually all of them are gone. Virtually the entire defensive staff from last year has been overhauled. And Vic Fangio comes in, who has familiarities with Chubb, but Fangio's scheme requires familiarity. It requires a certain level of comfort, and it took a few weeks for this defense as a whole, not just Bradley Chubb, but it took a few weeks for Bradley Chubb to get into the swing of things. Those first few games, I definitely remember looking at Bradley Chubb like, this is the guy we're paying something $20-something million. We give a first-round pick for. He's going to be on the team for 5 years. There's a lot of money tied into it. This is really the guy. And now today, going into week 9, 6-2 on the season, he has 5 sacks. He has 3 games in a row with a recorded sack. He's getting better with the season as he gets more accustomed back into this Vic Fangio defense that he saw a lot of success in with his time over with the Broncos. And the defense as a whole we've seen a lot of more, like the defensive line especially. The defensive line I feel like has been a lot better over those last few weeks. You look at the defensive line last week, 3 sacks, your 3 best defensive linemen. You're talking Bradley Chubb, you're talking Christian Wilkins, you're talking Jalen Phillips. All 3 of them got a sack in that game. They had a lot of help also based on the fact that we finally got Jalen Ramsey back. And I expect the secondary to finally start to catch up too. So the defensive line in general is playing at the level that we hope they would be, especially when we saw those preseason videos. Donovan and I were at the preseason and got to see how well they played. Bradley Chubb's catching up. Christian Wilkins has kind of been hitting mostly on all cylinders since the beginning of the season. And Jalen Phillips was hampered by that injury, and now he's coming back into the fold. So look, it's still a decent amount of money we're giving Bradley Chubb, and on a financial perspective, maybe eventually we're gonna regret it if we see a fall off in his numbers. But today, how he's played this season, specifically how he's playing at this time, he's a very well-informed player. 3 games in a row with a sack. I can't say that I'm disappointed by that Bradley Chubb. By the Bradley Chubb move. Do you think the Dolphins should cut ties with Teron Armstead at the end of the season? So when he went down, which was the Bills game, whatever it was, in the moment, I 100% said that the Dolphins should move off of Teron Armstead at the end of the season. There is a chance that he plays this week. I find it more likely that he does not play this week, has the bye week, and then comes back with Achane following week against a really bad Raiders team. If he plays this week, or even if he doesn't play this week, if he plays out the rest of the season, including playoff push, cross fingers, playoff games, plural, games. Let's say he finished out the rest of the season without a single injury, plays the rest of the season. I think that's the point where there's a serious conversation that has to be made about whether he's worth keeping. Because I think at this point in time, I think more heads in that Dolphins organization that if the season ended today, he would not be a Dolphins player this time tomorrow or this time next year. He has to play his way into being a Dolphins player next year. And the only way he can do that is by being healthy on the field. His ability, once he is on the field, I have zero questions about. He's our best offensive lineman. Those first few games when he was healthy, we had arguably had a top 3 offensive line in the entire NFL, which is bonkers to think based on how we made pretty much no improvement to the starting offensive line. Isaiah Wynn comes in and he's been good, was playing good at that time. And now the offensive line obviously is beat to crap, but with virtually no changes to the offensive line. He had a top 3 offensive line those first few weeks, and he's obviously the cornerstone of that. But if he doesn't play, I think you got to move off of. I think you have to move off of Teron Armstead. If he sustains another injury where he misses another handful of games, I think he's got to go. Lyle Collins, Donovan, he's still there on the market. Now, I don't know what his injury situation is because he was cut based off his injury where he tore his ACL at the end of last year. and or at some point last year, and that's a big boy. Those they do not recover the same. They don't recover like a wide other offensive weapons. They don't recover like wide receivers. They don't recover like quarterbacks. I mean, you see Aaron Rodgers throwing a ball a couple months after tearing his Achilles. Never in a million years is that possible in offensive lineman. You're just the sheer size, the height and weight that goes into those guys. You're not going to be able to replicate a speedy recovery, even to the sense of you're just meandering through warm-ups, throwing the ball around, planting your foot. That's not going to happen. So there's a reason why La'el Collins has not been signed yet. He's a very good offensive lineman, but I just worry that potentially that injury is still an issue for La'el Collins, and I don't know. I think that's probably why teams are holding back on bringing him in. Dolphins traded for Chubb deal. Looks bad in comparison to Chase Young deal. Yeah, I mean, you're giving up a first round pick, like compared to a third round. Now we'll see how Chase Young plays, because Chase Young that first year was a phenomenal player, and we haven't quite seen him hit that second gear as an NFL athlete, as an edge rusher. He came and played about as good as you could expect a rookie edge rusher to play. But kind of similar to Jadeveon Clowney, where, Clowney, that those last couple of years at South Carolina, that first year with the Texans, where you're like, okay, this is good, really good for coming into the NFL. Now what? That now what never came with Clowney. Chase Young, the jury's still out as to whether that now yet is going to come. Now, a third round pick as opposed to a first round pick, value just pound for pound, obviously that's a better deal. And when you have Bosa on one side of the line, you have Chase Young on the other side. Chase Young is going to have the opportunity or he's going to be given the leash to be not as good as Nick Bosa. Whereas Bradley Chubb last year was brought in pretty much to be our number one edge rusher. Jalen Phillips was and still is developing. Ogba, I believe, at that point had already had his season-ending injury. Van Ginkel, we see limited moments of Van Ginkel that he ends up playing well. But yeah, Chase Young has not played since the ACL injury, which injuries in young players is really brutal to see, because those first few years you have to be on the field. You have to get that development. It's so much harder for a player, just development-wise, talent-wise, to get a season-ending injury in year 5 or 6 than in year 1 or 2. Physically, they're going to be back and heal. They should heal, absolutely fine. ACL injuries, so common. Every single week, it's like somebody tears their ACL and they're fine by next season. It's not about the injury perspective. It's not about the health perspective. It's about being on the field, playing against experienced offensive linemen, getting those reps in, getting those practice runs in. I mean, that's what we're seeing right now with over in the NBA with Victor Wembanyama. He's so lanky that his body type has rarely been seen in NBA history. I mean, last night he played against his true comparison in Kevin Durant. They can both handle the ball. They can both shoot from the outside. They both can create their shot. But Kevin Durant, in year 14, 15, whatever it is at this point in Kevin Durant's career, he's had those reps against bigger guys, stronger guys, guys that are his height, but are not used to playing against somebody who are their height, but like 80 pounds slimmer, that extra step quicker, that ability to hit that jump shot. Wembanyama is being forced to stay around the perimeter right now at his point, and I know we're on a freaking Dolphins show now. We're really gone off topic, but it's okay. Wembanyama is forced to stay around the perimeter right now, and he gets inside occasionally. And when he gets the ball inside and he just has that slight bit of leverage, he's a monster. He dominates. But a lot of the time, I think his average positioning is very close to the 3-point line, just because defenses as of now are bullying him to stay outside, because they know once he gets the ball anywhere near to the rim, it's toast. That's very comparable to the NFL when guys first get to the league. Some of these guys are athletic monsters like Chase Young, who just the size, the speed, the weight, the ability to get to the quarterback at college is something that, at levels that we've never seen before. But if he's not on the field getting reps against NFL offensive linemen, trying to get NFL quarterbacks, having to go against defensive coordinators like Vic Fangio, who have spent their entire lives scheming against premier edge rushers and also scheming against younger players. They know how to expose younger players. Those younger players need to get on the field to be able to learn the tricks of the trade, to learn their niche, to learn how they're going to operate at their best ability. And Chase Young, being injured, has really hampered him from doing that. And I think he'll still be a very good player, but he just has to be on the field. He has to be in a reliable situation. And being the 49ers, there's not really a better situation than you can be in to be on the other side of the defensive line from Nick Bosa. Wow. The trade deadline's always fun. You know, you wish more happened. You wish the Dolphins were involved. It didn't. I haven't even said the words Kansas City Chiefs yet. I mean, how long are we into this stream? We're 25 minutes into the stream. I haven't even said the words Kansas City Chiefs yet. Jeez, Donovan, Raphael, Mighty Zane, how y'all letting me get this sidetracked? Dolphins traded for Chubb. Yeah, that's what we were talking about. Yeah, how'd you guys let me get this sidetracked? We're playing the Kansas City Chiefs. This week. Both teams 6-2. Both teams 1-2 in the AFC. So, you know, nothing weird about this game. You know, they're playing it in Germany. You know, they do that every single week. This is one of the biggest games of the weekend in an NFL weekend that I'm pretty sure is it's a very good matchup weekend this week. I'm pretty sure that Manchester United lost 3-0. Who would have thought? I'm just gonna go kill myself. I'm pretty sure the Cowboys and Eagles are playing. So we have Ravens and Seahawks, both at 2 losses. Baltimore might just be the best team in the NFL right now, just quite frankly. Let's see. Yep, Cowboys, Eagles, Bills, Bengals, Chargers, Jets is a sneaky good game, but I think that, you know, if the Chargers offense plays like they did last week against the Bears, I think the Chargers can run away with that. But you're look those premier matchups: Bills, Bengals, Cowboys, Eagles, Dolphins, Chiefs. Two teams that, again, 1-2 in the division, over in Frankfurt. So normally those European games, the fans over in Europe don't usually get to see the best product of football, and certainly should be getting treated to that. But let's take a look at this Chiefs team like we do every single week, breaking down opponents. So first on the offensive side of the ball. So I don't have to be the one to tell you that the Kansas City Chiefs are missing some firepower. Bills, Eagles, Chiefs, Ravens. What? I don't. Out of all of our schedule, we have the toughest road schedule. Out of all schedules, we have the toughest road schedule in football. I just realized. Yeah, I mean, Chiefs. Do you really want to call that away? And like Bills, you have to do it every single year. But yeah, Eagles, Ravens is pretty rough. But we do get the Cowboys at home. That's really it. Jeez. Excuse me. So yeah, we'll take a look at the Chiefs' offense. See, I don't have to be the first to tell you their offense is not the same as it has been in recent years. You're looking at a team that obviously Tyreek Hill is now on the other side of the ball. Even guys like Juju Smith-Schuster, who of course Juju is, it's easy to laugh at Juju, but he had a pretty significant role last year. He was arguably their best wide receiver last year for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's now with the Patriots, and that's left them with a rookie second-round pick, Rashee Rice, Sky Moore, Montez Valdes-Scantling, Kadarius Toney, Mecole Hardman's back. Like, they've got like 5 or 6 guys that are just guys out there. They currently ranked 10th in points in the league, 187 points across their games so far. They're 4th in yards, and their passing numbers are still good. Despite all this, Patrick Mahomes is currently 3rd in the NFL in passing yards. They throw the ball a lot. They throw the ball the 2nd most times in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes has the 5th most touchdowns in the NFL with 15 passing touchdowns. The rushing attack, which we've seen from the Kansas City Chiefs ever since they've lost Kareem Hunt, isn't that good. They're 17th in total rushing yards with 841 rushing yards, only 4 rushing touchdowns, which was 20th. And they are currently 14th in total touchdowns with 19 touchdowns. So they're pretty good in the red zone, pretty similar to us, which is I think like something that we've talked multiple weeks in a row now, is that we come against these teams that can't quite finish once they do get to the red zone. We're finally getting here with a team that scores a lot of points and gets to the Damian Williams. Stop it. He was all right. Donovan, I'm sure, is one of those people that thinks Damian Williams was Super Bowl MVP, and that's just absolutely absurd. They're fifth in red zone attempts. They're sixth in red zone touchdowns. They're somehow only 17th in red zone touchdown percentage. They're really good on third down, fourth in the NFL in third down percentage. 47% of the time they convert on their third downs. But the very interesting statistic that this was something I never would have expected with the Kansas City Chiefs team led by Patrick Mahomes, greatest quarterback in the NFL, Andy Reid, the greatest coach in the NFL. They are last in turnovers. They have the most turnovers in the NFL with 17 total turnovers. Now, the Dolphins are far from much better. We were 27th in turnovers with 14. So we do also turn the ball over quite a lot. Tua's thrown more interceptions than we have liked, and we've also put the ball on the ground a few times. So this Chiefs team, and Patrick Mahomes is third in interceptions with 10. Like he has not turned the ball over like this. He was not Super Bowl MVP. Donovan, stop. Patrick Mahomes has never turned the ball over like this, and a lot of it is because of how much he's trying to force the ball to his younger receivers that he can't rely on. I mean, you're looking at Sky Moore in his second year, Kadarius Toney in his third year, Rashee Rice in his first year, MVS, who has never been good. He's had Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes as his quarterbacks, and he's never been good. He's not, except for Travis Kelce, who obviously Travis Kelce is a dog, but you look outside Travis Kelce, their next top wide receiver in terms of yards in the NFL is Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice is 51st in the NFL in receiving yards with 361. Travis Kelce is 11 with 583, and he missed the game. Now, there are some teams that have already hit their bye week, so it kind of cancels out somewhere in there. Rashee Rice is looking better each and every week, so he is somebody the Dolphins do have to worry about, as the Chiefs have started to find him as the go-to guy on the perimeter. That has been the big struggle of this Chiefs offense, has been the ability to get the ball in the hands of their wide receivers, get out to the perimeter. Travis Kelce is, if they wanted to give him a 10-catch, 120-yard game every single time that they go out there, they very much could. They very much could just give him the ball, let him stumble upfield for 5 yards, and next thing you know, it's the end of the first quarter. He has 4 catches for 40 yards, and that can just materialize onto itself. But you do need to go to the outside. You do need to pick up chunk plays. You do need to get the ball in the hands of guys that can move the ball quickly down the field, pick up yards after catch, can outrun their secondary man, which you're not getting that from a tight end, even of the caliber of Travis Kelce. So their offense, while it has definitely taken a step back, is still very good, and they are starting to piece together what their receiving core is going to look like. Their defense, though, this may be the best Kansas City Chiefs defense that they've had in this, I guess, potential dynasty. This would be their third Super Bowl. So if they win it this year, this will be the best defense they've had in the Andy Reid era as the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes been around. Now, they do let up, which is, I guess, if you look at it from just perspective of points, they do allow a lot of points. But even then, it's not truly a lot. They're what did I just do? They're 25th in points allowed, which is actually that's actually I've been reading that backwards this whole time. Wow, they're 8th in points allowed in 16.1 points per game. I see what they're doing here. They have I'm using lineups.com, and I'm just a little confused on how they have this layered now that I've been doing this for multiple weeks. They're second in sacks with 28 sacks. They've got 12 turnovers as a defense, which is 10th in the NFL. And they're very solid, not great, but very solid with both the defense against the pass and defense against the rush. Now they are missing Nick Bolton, who outside of Chris Jones is probably their best defensive player. He is still out, but they're only fifth in yards allowed, fifth in passing yards. They're better against the pass than they are against the rush. So that is something that is going to negatively affect the Dolphins, as we do pick up most of our yards through the air as long as Devon Achane has been out. Definitely has mightily swung towards the air. They're solid on third and fourth down. They're middle of the road, 14th in third down percentage, in 16th in fourth down percentage. But they are only second. They have only allowed the second most rushing touchdowns and sixth most touchdowns in general. So this is a defense that we all know how good their offense has been in years past. That's, I don't have to be the first to sit here and tell you that. But when they traded Tyreek Hill away, and they got all those assortment of picks back for him, they went pretty strong on the defensive side of the ball in the draft this last year. Rashee Rice and Wanya Morris, I think I pronounced that right, Wanya Morris, were their only two offensive draft picks. Felix and DK Uzama, their first round pick, defensive end. Fourth round pick, Shamari Connor, safety. BJ Thompson, outside linebacker. Keandre Coburn, Nick Jones. Most of those guys obviously haven't seen the field too much, but they've made a clear effort to improve the defensive side of the ball. They got the contract situation figured out with Chris Jones, with him just missing one game. They've got an absolute hit in Nick Jones. Carl Loftus has been pretty solid for them this year. Let's take a look at their numbers, their actual physical numbers on defense. Wow, 28 sacks at this point in the season. George Karlaftis is their leading sack. Is their leader with sacks with 6. But then it goes to Chris Jones, 5.5. Mike Dana, 5.5. Drew Tranquill, 3.5. He's had a emergence here with the Chiefs. Then on defense, they don't get a lot of interceptions, only 5 so far, but I don't think we're better than that. We haven't got a lot of interceptions ourselves. We've only gotten 4 this year. So this defense is the best that we've seen it be with this regime. Let's go ahead and take a look at the injuries. Last week, injuries were just abysmal at the time of recording for the Miami Dolphins, and it's still not great. We still have quite a lot of guys on the injury report, recording this on Wednesday. So far, just 4 guys had not practiced today, that being Robert Hunt with his hamstring injury, Brandon Jones with his concussion, Raheem Mostert, and Durham Smythe. Mostert and Smythe have been dealing with injury issues for a couple weeks now, and they've just been mustering through it. Robert Hunt did go down with a hamstring injury, as well as Brandon Jones at the end of the game against the Patriots. Robert Hunt, and probably both of them. Probably both of them I would expect to miss this game. Hamstring issue, difficult to come back from, and then we just have not seen guys come back from concussions the week of, except for Brock Purdy last week. Teron Armstead is officially back on the injury report, so he's now off the IR, or has the ability to be taken out off the IR. With his knee injury, he was limited, as well as River Craycraft, who has missed some time. Xavier Howard taken off the injury report, interestingly enough. I was looking for him, but he's not on here at all. Is Javon Holland, who did clear the concussion protocol. So Xavier Howard, Nick Needham, Jalen Ramsey, Connor Williams, Alec Ingold, and Jalen Waddle are the rest of the injury reports. Alec Ingold and Waddle were a full go. We've known that Alec Ingold has been on the injury report basically since the beginning of the season and just continues to play as you expect from a fullback. They just tough it out, they thug it out, and get through it. But that is a more promising injury list than we've seen in recent weeks. The fact that Armstead's back on it is amazing. The fact that he is potentially available to play this Sunday when you desperately need him against a really good Chiefs defensive line. Jalen Ramsey is on the injury report, but that's just because he just came back from his injury, so he's still going to be listed as he's still not 100%, have zero doubt in his ability to play. on Sunday. Xavier Howard is the big name that is the biggest name that's on the list that is the most teetering. I'd say Teron Armstead doesn't play, but Xavier Howard last week never really got any positive news that he was going to be back and was going to be able to play. I assume he's going to be back. I like to assume he's going to be back. Limited today. Those groin injuries, we've seen it with Connor Williams. He injured his groin a while ago, came back, and then injured it that very next week. So I understand the team being safe, especially with a player of the caliber of Xavier Howard at a position that's been so important for the Dolphins and how bad it's been this year, that cornerback position. But do you hold Xavier Howard out another week just because the cornerback position isn't what's probably going to win or lose us the game on defense for them if you're the Miami Dolphins? And Jalen Ramsey played good. The secondary played so much better with him in general being back last week, but it was against the New England Patriots. How good of a test really is that? So again, it's Robert Hunt, Brandon Jones, Raheem Mostert, Dermot Smythe, Teron Armstead, River Craycraft, Xavier Howard, Nick Needham, Jalen Ramsey, Connor Williams, Alec Ingold, and Jalen Waddle. Waddle and Ingold, like I said, full participants. Waddle's injury still is back, which saw flare up, but he ended up being fine. Over to the Kansas City Chiefs. Jerick McKinnon and Willie Gay Jr. did not practice. McKinnon with a groin injury, Willie Gay with a lower back injury. And then it goes to Tommy Townsend, their punter, who was the only limited participant. We got Chiefs fans in here, man. Well, here's your injury report for you. Barbecue chicken, Dolphins sounds good Sunday. We'll see about that. Hey, I don't know how y'all are going to stop Tyreek Hill. Y'all got to watch him for years. Do you really think you're going to be the one to stop him? I'm not too sure about that. Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, Justin Watson, Richie James. You got 4 wide receivers on this list. Richie James is still on the IR with his knee injury, but he was a full participant in today's practice. All of those wide receivers were full participants. Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, Justin Watson, and Richie James, all full participants. Mike Edwards, Patrick Mahomes, he has injury issue with his left hand, and L'Jarius Sneed with the knee injury. Those last guys were all full participants. The Chiefs are about as healthy. Again, they're still missing Nick Bolton, Richie James on IR. They got a couple other players that are on IR, but for the most part, they're about as healthy as you're going to be in the NFL with just 3 guys that either didn't practice or were limited in practice. So they're definitely better off. They're definitely better off in the with the injury issues than we are. But nobody's going to be 100% going into any game, especially not this Dolphins team going into this game against the Chiefs. So with that, let me just take a water, please. Take a sip of water. So 9:30 Sunday morning, I'm going to be at church, so I'm going to miss the first quarter and a half. I'm going to be missing of this game. Kansas City Chiefs and Miami Dolphins. Obviously, the biggest story from this game is going to be Tyreek Hill playing his old team. Now, this is a technical home game for the Chiefs, so that means they do lose out on one of their home games this season. But it would have been nice to see Tyreek Hill back in Arrowhead. Not going to see that at the very least this year. Something that might be soon to come. Might be something that we end up seeing in the playoffs in the AFC Championship game. We might just have to see it then, or maybe coming down here to Miami. Either way, if the Dolphins and Chiefs are in the AFC Championship game, look, obviously I hope it's at home, but just the fact that the Dolphins gets the AFC Championship game is enough for me. These two teams, even though we just talked about how the Chiefs defense is much improved than we've seen in recent years. 2 teams that are very much known for their offenses. 2 of the best offensive-minded head coaches in the league with Andy Reid and obviously Mike McDaniel down here in Miami. Love to see all those Mike McDaniel Halloween costumes that we got to see on Halloween. But two teams known for their offense, and it is definitely apparent that the Chiefs are missing out on Tyreek Hill. Now, how Tyreek Hill is playing this year, any team could be much improved with Tyreek Hill, on the team. 61 catches, just over 1,000 yards. Only the 4th receiver in NFL history to crack over that 1,000 yards mark at week 8. 8 touchdowns, which already surpasses his touchdown total from last year. 126 yards per game. Tyreek Hill has been on fire this year. There has been debate. Who's the MVP? Is it Tua? Is it Tyreek Hill? I lean Tyreek Hill. Yes, obviously, quarterback is the most important position in sports, but the way of who's affecting this team, Tyreek Hill, I believe, has been affecting this team more than Tua has. This offense looks night and day different with both of them off the field, but just today, 2023, who has been more important to the Dolphins' success? It's been Tyreek Hill. If you take one of the two away, I think the Dolphins would be worse missing Tua, but just the value that they brought to the team's success, I think Tyreek Hill has been more important and more valuable for the Dolphins so far this year. Him and Waddle, they've combined for about 1,500 yards. And then you look at the Kansas City Chiefs receiving core, and you got to take 4 or 5 guys to equate the total that just Hill and Waddle. And obviously, most of it's Hill. Travis Kelce, 583 yards, leading receiver, is a tight end. And yes, tight end, it doesn't matter that he's a tight end, he's still a phenomenal player. But again, like we talked about earlier, you need to find that success outside on the perimeter. And they think they have found it with Rashee Rice in recent weeks. It took a little bit to get him going into things, but you kind of expect that with a second round rookie. Last week against the Broncos, 5 catches, 56 yards. Against the Chargers, 6 catches, 60 yards, and a touchdown. 72 yards the previous week against the Broncos. So these last 3 weeks specifically, Rashee Rice has really stepped up as that wide receiver one. I mean, you guys that play fantasy football, I mean, going through the draft process, those first few weeks when you're trying to make trades, you're trying to evaluate, and if you're a good fantasy football player, you're looking at that Chiefs off. You look at teams that have good offense, and we see that with the Kansas City Chiefs, and you just want a piece of it. Obviously, everybody wants Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. Those guys are both usually gone in the first 2 rounds this year in pretty much all redraft fantasy leagues. But the logic with getting just a player from a good offense fantasy wise is eventually, or you hope eventually, that they're going to break through. They're going to have a big week just because there's so much opportunity on that offense. There's so many yards to be had. There's so many points to be had that somebody has to score it. And if you look at a Chiefs team that coming into the season did not have a clear-cut wide receiver, that was kind of seen as a positive, like, oh, I can get for a good price fantasy-wise somebody that, he could end up with 500 yards, but he could also end up with 1,200 yards. As of today, I still don't quite 100% with my chest feel that Rashee Rice is that guy. But if anybody is going to be that guy at the wide receiver position for the Kansas City Chiefs, it is Rashee Rice. He is the guy that the Dolphins will have to stop. You're looking past Rashee Rice. Justin Watson is the second leading receiver. He's somebody who is purely a deep threat. Only 12 catches on the season, averaging 22 yards per catch. Everything that Watson does is a deep catch. I'm pretty sure ironically saying that, I'm pretty sure he had a shallow crosser for a catch last week. But all his passes are over the top. MVS, their next wide receiver, same thing, 12 catches. So you're looking at lower volume than we would expect out of some of those guys down the pecking order. Kadarius Toney, only 109 yards and only 1 touchdown. Sky Moore, who again, guys kind of hoped he was going to be the wide receiver one. He still hasn't done much to really back that he was a good second round pick. He looks like a bust. He's only got 27 targets. He only has 14 catches, 168 yards, and a touchdown. This offense needs a wide receiver to break through and be an alpha alongside Travis Kelce. And as of today, if it's going to be somebody, it is Rashee Rice. That is who the Dolphins on offense, on the receiving game outside of Kelce, needs to pay attention to. In the ground game, Isaiah Pacheco is having a quietly good season. 459 yards, 4.3 a carry, 3 touchdowns. Well, yes, that's certainly not earth-shattering. He's probably not going to make the Pro Bowl. He's not amongst the best running backs in the NFL when you look at them on paper. And if you're going down a list of running backs you pick, Isaiah Pacheco's not definitely not top 10 guy, but he's currently sitting at 11th in the NFL in rushing yards with his 459 yards. Ironically, 1 yard less than Devon Achane, who Achane has obviously only played 4 games this year, really only had significant impacts in 3 of them. Pacheco's played 8, but Pacheco is still very solid and very serviceable running back. for this Chiefs offense. And then Patrick Mahomes. Despite the fact that Patrick Mahomes has not had a clear outside weapon to go to, has not had a clear weapon that is not named Travis Kelce, he's still third in the NFL. And, likelihood is, unless, guys like Jared Goff or Josh Allen have monster games behind him and jump over him, he is likely to be the second leading passer in the NFL once Sunday is done with its games. Kirk Cousins currently at 2, Tua obviously at 1. Without wide receiver, with pretty much just Travis Kelce, he has found himself third in the league in passing yards with just over 2,200, just shy of 2,300. But he is turning the ball over more than he has in recent years. The Chiefs, in general, have 10 total interceptions. Now, 2 of those have come from Blaine Gabbert. Patrick Mahomes, 15 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Tua has also had himself quite a few interceptions. We see also, Jalen Hurts has turned the ball over a lot. So guys that you don't typically expect to have a lot of turnovers so far in the NFL are. But a lot of those turnovers is because Patrick Mahomes has slightly had to play hero ball and find a way just to fit the ball in when the offense isn't moving down the field as sharply as it has in recent years. He's trying to find that guy. He's trying to make that guy. He's trying to make somebody on his team better and force a ball in where, probably can't do that. But he's still having a very solid season to have the Chiefs currently as the number 1 seed in the AFC. This is a matchup that coming down the schedule, when you take a look at when the Dolphins opened up the season 3-0, when the Chiefs, they obviously had that loss against the Lions opening week, but we knew they'd be solid. When the Dolphins were having their high power offense, especially as Dolphins fans, we were very much excited and looking forward to this game. Tyreek Hill, obviously the main storyline, but Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle makes this offense up to par with the Kansas City Chiefs without having the best wide receiver core that they've had in recent years. If you're just saying pound for pound, whose offense would I rather have? I'm talking, when I say pound for pound, I'm talking looking at head coach, Mike McDaniel, obviously Andy Reid. Tua, Patrick Mahomes, Devon Achane / Raheem Mostert, Isaiah Pacheco, Rashee Rice, Kadarius Toney, whoever their 2 really truly is, MVS, Tyreek Hill and Waddle, and tight end Durham Smythe and Travis Kelce. It's a lot of boxes that, obviously Andy Reid and McDaniel, as great as McDaniel is, I'm still taking Andy Reid. All those boxes feel very clear who it is, and it feels like it alternates. Like, I'll go Patrick Mahomes over Tua. I'll go our running backs total, like between the 2 of Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane over Isaiah Pacheco. I'm going our receivers, but I'm clearly going their tight end. So it's about split if you break down the offenses. The offensive line, especially how it's the current situation, I'll definitely go the way of the Dolphins. Defensive line, very close, very close. I'm probably slightly going to the Chiefs, but the Dolphins' defensive line has been much improved. Secondary, assuming Xavier Howard plays, I'm going with the Dolphins. So if you just break it down position group by position group, man, these are 2 very good teams. These are 2, most people would say top 5 teams in the NFL to top 3 teams in the AFC. I'd say Ravens are the best team in football all across the board. Then you have, Dolphins, Chiefs, Bills, Ooh. If I had to go just top 3 in the AFC right now, I'm going Ravens. Man, it's hard. Even though their record's bad, I might even put the Bengals. I'll go Ravens, Dolphins, Bengals, Chiefs as the top 4 teams in the NFL. And it is on a neutral site, so theoretically, by that logic, it should be an easy win. Not easy, but should be a clear win. But it's not. When you have just that solidified top end of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, genius offensive-minded coach, genius quarterback, so much God-given talent. I said I'd never pick against the Dolphins. And I'm not. I'm going to go with the Miami Dolphins. 27 to the Chiefs 24. A little less high scoring than maybe some people would expect. I think this defense is going to continue to get better and better every single week. 3 best defensive linemen last week each got a sack in Zeller, Phillips, and Bradley Chubb. You look on the back end, we saw our best secondary piece in Xavier Howard, in Jalen Ramsey get his interception. And now we have Xavier Howard and Javon Holland likely coming back. I'm gonna give it to the Dolphins. I'm gonna say that the Chiefs offense has some struggles to move the ball, or they can't put drives together because Patrick Mahomes can't find that guy to give the ball to outside of Travis Kelce. I'm very concerned about what this Chiefs offense is going to do in terms of getting the ball to Travis Kelce, and how, as a defense, we're going to stop it, because I couldn't tell you the last time I felt confident in our middle linebacker core. It just has never happened. But I think it's going to be a close game. It's going to be a good game. I think the crowd over there in Germany is going to be very well entertained. But I am going to go, like I said, with the Miami Dolphins with the 27-24 victory. Let me know down below in the comments what you guys think of that prediction. Any comments I should get to before we wrap things up here? It's been a full hour. It felt so much shorter than that. As a Chiefs fan, he gives Mahomes and heard my prayers. Look, hey, if there's anybody in sports I want to be a fan of, for the next 10 years, it'd be the Chiefs. As long as you have Patrick Mahomes upright and Andy Reid, not eating too many cheeseburgers, there's nobody in the NFL that I'd rather be a fan of. Just if I could remove all of my biases, which I have the ability to do so more often than not, but a lot of people can't. If I can just remove my biases and I can say, like, this team is a team I want to root for, it'd be the Chiefs. Like, the offensive firepower, and now the defense is up to par. Best coach in the NFL currently, best quarterback in the NFL currently. They're the team I'd want to root for. Even Spo dressed up as Mighty Mike. Did he really? That's hilarious. I did pray for a quarterback for 40 years. This is true. Tyreek is the man. I love that dude. I mean, yeah, you got your quarterback, and if Tyreek had stayed, just that conversation then the conversation arises of who is the best quarterback and receiving duo of all time. I mean, it's hard to pick against Joe Montana and Jerry Rice. For a limited stretch, Randy Moss and Tom Brady. But if Tyreek Hill, let's say Tyreek Hill plays out the rest of his career in Kansas City, I'd say that probably ends up being the best quarterback wide receiver duo in league history. Chris Jones, Mike Dana, Charles. Yeah, it's a good, very solid defense. Sandman, 55-yard field goal. As time expired, 32-30 Chiefs. 32. That's an interesting number. 31-20. Wait, you guys miss an extra point or something? There's no way your kicker misses an extra point. Peyton and Reggie. Yeah. Peyton and I'd actually say Peyton and what's his name was a little better. Crap. Donna's probably already typing it out, so I'm not going to bother looking it up. There's been some, absolutely excellent combinations. And combinations today. Obviously, Burrow and Jamar Chase, Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen, Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson. Like, there's Derek Carr and Rashid Shaheed, apparently. Marvin Harrison. Yeah, you're right. There's what a time to be alive. Like, me and Donovan were talking about, and just some food for thought before we leave, is just what happened to NFL offenses. Like, I brought up how Tyreek Hill was the fourth player in NFL history to get to 1,000 yards by week 8. And the previous guys were all like 1961, 62, and 64, like, or whatever it was. Like, what happened? What happened from the early to mid 60s, like maybe even a little bit in the 70s? What happened from then to 2012? Like, why did the league just, like, I'm so glad this is the time I'm growing up in. I'm so glad that I get to watch this version of the NFL rather than, like, look, everyone loves to talk about defense wins championships. Like, oh, the Chicago Bears could have been undefeated. Like, that defense was so good. Like, I don't care. I don't care about good defenses, especially if they're not a team that I root for. I don't care. I see good defenses as they are stopping me from watching good football. A good defense has the ability to, any given week, hold opponents to 10 points. I don't want to watch a football game with 10 points on one side of the ball. I don't want to see a 13-10 game. that I thank the Lord that we were at the Dolphins game, Donovan, and didn't have to watch the Jets-Giants game much. Obviously, we wouldn't have been watching anyways, but gosh. 24 punts. 23 points. Yeah. 24 punts, 23 points. In 2023. Danny DeVito's cousin playing quarterback. I think that's the last name, DeVito. How did people watch football those first few years? Like, oh gosh, I hate like the option offense, the triple option. Oh. The defenses just got better. Yeah, they did get better, but like, how did the offenses regress so much? Like, I guess maybe just the defenses were just that bad initially, and the defense got better, and the offenses just plateaued, and you didn't have, like, you started to get like today, where I don't want a defensive-minded head coach. I don't care how many times that Andrew has tried to tell me, you know, it's stupid to think defensive coaches can't be head coaches. They can't. They can't be head coaches. Show me one that is working. If you want to say Sean McDermott, I'd say they should have a Super Bowl right now. They should have a Super Bowl right now. If you are the Buffalo Bills, and you can bring back Brian Dable today. I know Brian Dable has not had a great year this year. I'd say a lot of that is due to the personnel he has available to him rather than his ability as a head coach. Today, if you are Brian Dable and you have the opportunity, or sorry. If you are the Buffalo Bills and you have the ability today to bring back Brian Dable as head coach and have Sean Payton walk, or Sean McDermott walk, I'm doing it. Defense used to knock people out and give them, you can't be dirty anymore. I mean, God, now, it has gone a little too far. Like Jaylen Warren, I know he's not a defensive player, but Jaylen Warren basically got fined his entire game check for a hit he had against the Jaguars. Now, that is just ridiculous. Like, we watch MMA, we watch UFC, we watch boxing because of the brutality of it. How these incredible athletes are throwing themselves literally and figuratively at each other, would be almost to the death, except for the fact that there's a referee standing there. We watch that because of how brutal it is, how physical it is, how gnarly it can be at times. We watch it because of that. These fighters know what they're doing. They know the profession they signed up for. They know I'm going to get a hit in the head hundreds, thousands of times, not hundreds of thousands, but hundreds or thousands, tens of thousands of times in their fighting career. They know this, but they are choosing to live a life of high class, of luxury, the ability to be well off, the ability to get their mom a house, to pay off, their livelihood for the rest of their life. That life may be 60-something years instead of 80-something years, but a lot of these guys are choosing to live a life of luxury, to live a life of higher status, of a life that they can help themselves, they can help their family, they can help so many people. They're choosing to do that for a considerably less time, less livelihood on earth. Or instead, especially athletes, a lot of football players, that this is their escape. This is their only route. Yeah, you have guys coming up that, Patrick Mahomes coming from a family of athletes. Steph Curry, family athletes. He was never going to be poor. A lot of them were. A lot of them were otherwise. And they're choosing probably to live 60, early 70s years, but live their entire life as well as they virtually would want to, as opposed to doing what? Working what job? So I say all that to say the NFL has definitely started to go too far with these player fines. Look, if you're on that football field, you know the risk. Damar Hamlin was a complete freak incident. It wasn't a dirty hit. He's happened to get hit within the rhythm of his heartbeat that it caused, what ended up happening. But concussions, CTE is obviously the worst of that, because just because you know what you're getting into, you don't really know what you're getting into with CTE, even still to this day. But these guys, for the most part, know what they're getting into. So I do think it's kind of stupid how the NFL has handled that over recent years. I think we're gonna call it there. It's been a fun stream by myself. It's been 32 of you guys that have popped in here. FAKC, appreciate you. Donovan, appreciate you. Why is my mouse not working? There we go. Who else do we have in here? Raphael, appreciate you stopping by. Mighty Zane, seeing you commenting on a bunch of videos. Appreciate you if you're still here. If not, either way, still appreciate you, babe. No Rodolfo today, but we did also go early, so it makes sense. Just me, Donovan, fulfilling other responsibilities. That's why you see Donovan commenting alongside you guys in the chat. So appreciate y'all hanging out with me today. Again, like I say, at the end of every single video, or every single live stream rather. If you missed any of this and you'd like to see clips from this stream, we will be uploading clips for the remainder of the week for different sections of this podcast. We very much appreciate y'all. We're very, very close to 1,000, very close to 900. I think we're 5 subs away from 900. So if you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button. Hefe, I know you're a Chiefs fan, but show us some love. Please hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Get involved in the chat and post. But we appreciate y'all very much for watching. Thank y'all for being here. Have a great rest of your day. Go Dolphins.